Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the program. Today I want to start talking a little bit more about Australia and some of these very recent discoveries that they found regarding some of the indigenous people there. I just wanted to do this episode today because over the weekend I'm going to be interviewing Bruce Fenton, and we're going to be talking about the out of Australia theory, or into Africa theory as he likes to call it, and a little bit of into America, which he's going to be writing a book about very, very soon. And I just want to get the ball rolling and give you guys, we're not going to talk directly about this specific discovery because this is really, really, this happened very, very recently in the wake of all the fires in Australia, and acres and acres and acres of land being torched, as well as people's homes. But they have been able to find in southwestern Victoria this evidence of aquaculture, which is basically this very well thought out and organized plan to manipulate the waterways and farm, specifically in this case eels. And I did an episode on aquaculture in China a few months back, and this idea is very interesting because it's found now in another continent, in Australia. Anyway, so these extra sections of an ancient aquaculture system built by indigenous people in southwest Victoria thousands of years ago, and it predates the pyramids. They found these things which were hidden underneath this overgrowth. And these indigenous people that they're talking about were located in the Budj Bim Cultural Landscape. And if you guys can see here, this is a map of Australia, and this is Victoria. And south, it's around where my cursor is right here, southwest Victoria. And then there was a culture there called the Gunditjmara people. They're these people that are indigenous to that area, and they have a tradition of harvesting eels that goes back, now they know, 6,600 years ago. This is really interesting because back then, this is really sophisticated technology that is not thought to have existed. The pyramids are allegedly younger. Personally, I don't think the pyramids are what the Egyptologists say in terms of its age. I think it's a lot older than we think. But it was definitely worked on throughout the Old Kingdom, and some of the ancient Egyptians that we know of definitely did try to make some changes and upgrades to the existing pyramids. But the pyramid complex itself, I think, is older. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The fact is that these people, who were just thought to have been just backwater indigenous people, they had in their culture, they were able to develop this complicated system of aquatic technology that helped them basically, it's not domesticated eels, but they could farm on a large scale this marine life that they would eat, and they would allegedly, just like farming plants and harvesting plants, they would do the same thing with eels and eat them. And this parallels what I was talking about in ancient China, which again, they had aquaculture, but instead they were selecting different types of fish, and they were breeding for aesthetics, as well as the meat content size and all of these things as well. And it was a staple of and a staple source of nutritional value that these people had. So I thought, again, this article is interesting because now we have two separate data points that are very similar to each other in terms of this technology, this agricultural subsistence type of technology that they're using. So they inspected the site after the fire was brought under control, and then they found extra sites previously concealed under vegetation that they believe are part of the aquaculture system. So this area is a UNESCO heritage site, this Budj Bim Cultural Landscape, which is these three dots here. These are some of the sites here in southwestern Victoria. And these are UNESCO World Heritage Sites now. Very interesting stuff. And basically, this heritage site is even more, is a lot older, and it's more extensive than they originally thought. So the fire burnt through more than 7,000 hectares of land around Lake Conda and in the Budj Bim National Park, in an area known as a Muldoon Trap Complex. So some of the Gunditjmara elders. One of them is this man right here, Dennis Rose. He is also inspecting some of these new sections of the aquaculture system, and he had some interesting things to say. So one thing was the fire uncovered another smaller system, including a channel about 25 meters in length. That's pretty long, that they hadn't noticed before. So they underestimated the extent of this technology, of this, I guess, structure of this aquaculture technology. So the next thing that they're going to do, obviously, is going to be taking aerial photography, probably LiDAR, for some of the other things, that some of the other brush that wasn't burned down, just to see how far this goes and how far reaching was this. So if they do find out that it was super far reaching, then that there's all kinds of implications, right? Maybe these weren't just a sporadic group of tribes. Maybe this was more organized. Maybe the culture was more widespread and not as fragmented as we once thought. And it could be that this could be some sort of ancestral technology, this ancestral culture that even dates even further back, which this is something I want to talk about with Bruce when I interview him, is what is this ancestral technology? Where did it come from? Do you have any ideas about that? And that, of course, is up in the air. But the discoveries such as these are really important to even bringing that up in conversation. Now we know for sure that these people 6,600 years ago, and that predates Old Kingdom Egypt. That's a long, long time ago. They had all this stuff in place already. So how much further did they develop that just then and there? Is that aquaculture technology 6,600 years old, or is it much older? It's probably much older, because when they found it, again, it's extensive. They find it fully formed and intact. There's no implication of it just being a stair-step work in progress. No, it's fully intact and well run, obviously, to have lasted this long. To have lived this long, and it survives to this day in the culture of the indigenous people. So this is a tried and true method that they've been using to live, and it became intertwined within their culture. They hold the eel in very high regard. They hold aquaculture in very high regard. It's sacred, these things. These are life-giving aspects of their culture. So how far back does this go? How sophisticated were the people of Australia? So anyway, that's about all I have to say for this article. I thought it was super interesting. If you guys know anything about this, or maybe other ancestral technologies or techniques, subsistence techniques, beliefs, whatever it is, whether it's an aquatic system or some other type of system, let me know in the comments. Yeah, and like I said before, stay tuned for the Bruce Fenton podcast. I don't think I'm going to be live streaming it this time. I will upload it as soon as possible after the interview is done. The only reason being is because I want to try to avoid any hiccups. I don't want any lag spikes. I don't want anything to get to interrupt the actual live stream itself. But once I get that down, once I have all the technologies reliable and I'm comfortable, then I'll resume the live streams. But just for this one, at least, I want to make sure everything goes as according to plan. I want to be able to hit all the questions and all the areas that we talk about. And Bruce is in the UK. I'm in the west coast of the US, so the time difference is pretty significant. So I just don't want any interruptions to happen. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about Australia, about ancient Sahul, maybe pre-Ice Age people, whatever it is. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you later.